and welcome back to the Planning Pulse podcast. With me again, not the first time, not the second time, but I think this is the third time, McKenzie Smith. Welcome back to the Planning Pulse podcast here, McKenzie. How you doing today?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I'm good. I'm thrilled to be back.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you were all able to catch our series that kicked off last week with the great Sarah Strother, we are continuing our tips and tricks how to as we head into budget season. Last week we covered dimensions, attributes, how to further refine your data. Today we're going to be talking about some routine maintenance that you may need to do before you get into budget season. We're talking about some of those pesky problems that may exist inside of your adaptive environment. Speaking of pesky problems, I don't know, McKenzie, as somebody who has to do some routine maintenance of your own, maybe you got any pesky problems on your end?
I do, Matt, actually, right now, because I live in Houston, we're getting a lot of rain over the summer. The rain brings out the fire ants, and we are being overthrown in our backyard with fire ants right now. So we need pest control, actually, to come and really save me.
Yeah, well, I think of your pest problem similar to a lot of our customers and listeners have pests as it exists inside of their adaptive environment where they need somebody to come in and be that pest control. It's a good thing that they've got you today because we're going to be covering adding or making changes to your GL structure. Same with organizational hierarchy too. We're going to be talking about if you need to make changes to your level structure, maybe some additions or edits. We'll talk through that. My pests on my side is just back to school. I don't think that any pest control out there is going to help me with childcare, but maybe if we dive into a demonstration of the GL account structure, organizational hierarchy, McKenzie, maybe it'll unlock some of those pest control problems that I'm thinking of with my
Maybe
kids.
we'll come up with a solution for you, Matt.
I would love to get a solution to my kids. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and share, and I can walk through, like you said, we're going to go through just some simple routine maintenance, things we may need to update as budget season rolls out. We're going to look at creating new GL accounts, maybe at the start of the season. We're making some updates in our ERP. Those need to be reflected in adaptive. Likewise, in a organizational structure standpoint, we're making changes. Maybe we're expanding. We need to make updates, things like that. We'll go through those as well. So the first one we'll look at is just that GL structure. So where both of these changes are going to happen. And I know a lot of us watching probably know this, but as a refresher, a lot of these changes are going to happen back in our model management. And now the general ledger, we're going to look in that accounts bucket for our general ledger accounts. And in this example, maybe we're going to be looking at that whole GL list, but maybe I know that I need to add a new product revenue GL account. So I'm going to come and open up this product revenue. And what I like to tell my clients is when we're creating a new account, we're going to create product group D. We're going to create a new account. It is going to have all the same qualities. It is going to operate the same way as these product revenue accounts that already exist. Sometimes, as we are working on familiarity with these tasks, sometimes we got to have two screens up. We're going to duplicate this screen and we're going to look at an account that already exists so that we can reference it and make sure all those settings are going to be the same. Or we can always, what I like to do is I click into this product group C. I'm going to do a quick overview of okay, all these settings, anything I need to change. We're always going to check those account attributes, anything like that. A lot of these things will be adopted because we're creating them within that revenue roll-up that already exists. So a lot of this we don't have to worry about. But just as that general rule of thumb, we're just going to do a quick once-over of all of those things. Is there anything called out that may be different than some of these existing accounts? But a lot of times the answer is no. We're going to pretty much use the settings that already exist. So that said, I've done that once-over of that existing account that I want to essentially mimic. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to click on that parent account. This new product revenue GL is going to roll up to that 4,100 product revenue. What I'm going to do is create a new account. And I want to make sure, I'm going to call attention to this because I've done it before. There are two create new account buttons up here in our toolbar. We're going to use that far left one. We do not want to create a system account, just a new account. That's going to be our standard general ledgers. When we create that new account, like we said, we're going to use that same structure and naming convention, all the nomenclature that already exists. So I'm trying to copy this group D, and then And now I've got that coded and named. Now, some of our accounts had a short name, maybe not all of them do. This is really just for tracking. We can always come back in and add this later. So, really, those two required fields are going to be those main ones. And then I'm just going to scroll down, and the first thing I'm going to check is going to be these account attributes. We'll notice our GAAP P&L and our IFRS P&L are already pre-populated. That probably tells us that I don't need to manage these because all these are going to be adopted based off of where they live in the account hierarchy. However, if in your specific adaptive instance, we've got account specific attributes, that's not entirely uncommon. Maybe there are some that need to be applied to each individual GL. That's why we check those account attributes first. We're just going to make sure that in the event that there are some that are GL specific, we've tagged those and that data is going to automatically flow into that reporting as needed.
Yeah, McKenzie, I know the last episode that we talked about with Sarah was about attributes within dimensions, and it's the way for us to be able to group like dimensions or attributes, just a way for us to do alternate reporting. Would you say it's the same sort of functionality here within GL accounts?
Yes, if we were following that relationship between dimensions and dimension attributes, as Sarah went through it, that same concept is going to apply here. So those account to account attributes is going to be that one to many relationship. It's a way to group accounts. It's a way to report a little bit differently on some accounts if maybe there are different views that we need that don't one-to-one align with the way that our general ledger structure is set up. Often, this is set up from an accounting perspective, but we have different views and different needs as FP&A teams are the boards, things like that. They want to see different views, and that's what those account attributes really help for.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you wanted to, report on product revenue versus service revenue versus maintenance revenue, as you could see here, you could use your attributes on those. And that way you're not having to go GL account by GL account or parent by parent. You've just got a nice easy slicer there by maybe revenue type, something like that.
Exactly. Or if we're thinking about if we're looking at to that same point, but a different scenario, we've got product, service, and maintenance revenue, but split by product. We've got product groups A, B, C, and D in each of those sections. We can also have an account attribute that groups by product group. That's going to be one of those, maybe in my example that we don't have here, but is in a GL account specific account attribute, still gives us that flexibility. And that's one that we'd want to make sure we tagged on this GL so that when we get into reporting later on in the budget, we know that data in this new 4140 is still flowing through how we want it to because we tagged it in the setup and we made sure that that was all there before we started.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's switch gears maybe just a little bit. So we've talked about changing the structure as it relates to our GL accounts. What if somebody needs to make any type of changes to their organizational structure beyond just the GL structure? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and save this one. We always want to make sure we're saving our work. We're not getting logged out of the system before we've done it, before we've tried to make those changes we needed to change. When we make that update, as everyone knows, that's going to be those adaptive users. That account, once we've got actuals data flowing through and we've mapped that in our either data import or that integration, it'll automatically pop up in all of our reports, our P&Ls, all of that. Same thing will apply when we move into, we're going to go back to model management. Here, we're going to look in those levels and dimensions, and that level structure is going to take us to whatever it may be, that organizational structure for my company. Now, in this case, maybe we are expanding or planning to expand across the next budget season. So in 2026, we're going to have a few new territories, maybe break our territories down a little bit differently. So we think about, I may need to north, south, east, and west for sales is now not enough. We're going to bring in maybe a central territory. We're bringing in new reps, things like that to account for the new business, the expansion. So I want to add a sales central level. We're going to do that same thing. We're going to navigate to, and I like to do this. This is not right or wrong. We can always add a new level from a total company perspective, and we're going to look at this in a second. Identify where it should roll up to in the hierarchy. But as a check, I'm someone that likes to double, triple check my work. As a check, I like to make sure I know exactly where that should go in the hierarchy so that there's no confusion for me when I come in to identify where it should live. So we're going to identify where we want that to be. And then there's that create new level. Unlike in the accounts, it's just this far left button. There's not two different options or anything like that. So we're just going to create that new level. And the same thing goes here. We're going to likely, in this case, mimic what already exists. So we can use one that's already there as a reference. And I'm going to identify those required fields, the name and the code of that level, and then here in that rolls up to what we're going to do is identify, and because I'm already sitting in that roll up, I'm not going to accidentally pick the wrong United States, the wrong operations, because I was already sitting there. I'm going to identify that this is going to roll up to the US. The same thing I'm going to call out with those that I did with the account attributes in those level attributes. Similar concept, the relationship of dimension to dimension attributes, accounts to account attributes, levels to level attributes, different ways to group, different ways to report, things like that. A lot of these similarly will be based on where this new level that we're adding lives within the hierarchy. But in the event that there are level specific attributes, this would be where we just want to double check and tag them. And again, make sure that they're going to dynamically flow through in all of our reporting. But once we've identified that, same thing, we're going to make sure we've saved our work after we've checked everything. And then we've got that new level. And just like that account, as data starts to flow through there, we've mapped imported or integrated data. We'll dynamically see that not only be included in our aggregate at a total company perspective, but be able to look at that data at an individual sales central level. And now, if we're thinking about last thing, Adaptive is always going to save our new levels in the order of which we created them, but that's not always how we want to look at it. We kind of want them to be grouped. Maybe it's alphabetically. Maybe it's, in this case, we've got a few different categories within that geography. I want this up with the sales levels. I can drag and drop this here at the bottom of those sales levels. And that way, I like that better for organizational purposes. It does not change anything about the way the system views the level, but keeps everything organized and maybe better aligned with the way we want to see it in reporting, the way it looks in our source system, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. McKenzie, I appreciate you walking through the demonstration for us today. It's important that you all, again, Workday Adaptive Planning meant to be a self-service tool. It's important for everyone to be able to have the confidence and the know-how to go in and solve some of those pesky problems, unlike my children. But it's important to be able to go in and make those changes. I would caution our listeners, our followers, our customers, making changes to your foundational data model, which is levels, accounts, currencies, calendars. Those can have repercussions, absolutely, to your data. Making edits like we did today, where we add new levels or we add new accounts, that can be done relatively, painlessly. If you're running into any problems, any challenges, or if you have any questions and just want to reach out to us before you make any type of edit, please do so. We'll always hop on. Sometimes it takes just a couple minutes, sometimes just to bounce ideas off. Please take a little bit of caution as we're making changes or edits towards your foundational data model. And again, if in doubt, please reach out. McKenzie, anything that you want to leave our listeners with for today?
No, I think I'll just emphasize what you said. I have a lot of post-production support clients and engagements that I work on. And we'll notice when I created that level, there was a little, not an error message, but maybe a warning us that as we reparent levels, it has the capacity to change some of that data and the way that it shows up in reporting or potentially assumptions or anything like that. To your point, as we change the foundational data model, it has the potential to impact the way that data in the system already exists. Now, in this case, I went ahead and knew that was okay because we were creating a new level. But as we think about moving things around, anything like that, Adaptive does give us those error warning messages, which we're glad to have. But if you ever see one of those and are like, I wasn't worried about this, but now I am.
Exactly.
That's something we just double check on before we do it. And it's always better to double check, but then to wish we would have double checked after.
Absolutely. 100%. If you ever see a warning sign and you're not sure what to do, take a screenshot, send it to our team. We're not going to charge you. We want to take a look to help guide you on the path of being your own owner of your adaptive environment. Mm-hmm. Well, again, McKenzie, I know this is the third time on the podcast. Definitely not going to be the last. Really appreciate you. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear because I like it when people come on and demo instead of me always having to do the demo. So I appreciate you hopping on with me. We are going to be continuing our how-to tips and tricks heading into budget season next week. So be sure to go back. If you didn't watch last week's episode, watch last week's, and we are going to catch you again next week. You can plan on it.